Here with me now is Eleanor Clift, political analyst for the Daily Beast. You don't normally see Democratic lawmakers praising the president, but I did see some of them tweet today, the world's less dangerous. I mean, John Bolton was not a favorite of Democrats, but even so, a lot of them kind of thought he was kind of a stable force. Give me your take on all of this.
Well, first of all, I think the president was saying that he wanted to get rid of John Bolton because he felt Bolton was pushing him towards a military confrontation with Iran, which Bolton has been famous for advocating for years. So on that score, I think the president was correct. But I think what Democrats and Republicans alike, they see this, another abrupt firing or resignation, whatever you want to call it, as evidence that there's no political process in the White House. This president just does what he thinks is the right thing to do, and he's looking now for a big event that will secure his reelection in 2020. So the notion of a summit at Camp David with the Taliban, and then the Taliban does a couple of suicide bombings and he, calls it off. Bolton was very much opposed to that. He's also been opposed to all of the high-level summits with the North Koreans, saying they really haven't given up anything. And so Bolton was right on a couple of issues, but generally he's a very hawkish individual. He didn't run a process in the White House. A national security advisor is supposed to be an honest broker between the different points of view. He just worked directly with the president, and the president apparently got sick of him. So it's as simple as that.
What do you think tipped it this time? I mean, there was, of course, you mentioned the Taliban, but there was also some reporting that he didn't even want to go on these Sunday shows and defend the policies of this administration.
Well, the president sees that as disloyalty. And if you're not willing to go out there and say, the great leader, I mean, it smacks of an authoritarian country, the demands this president makes on the people around him to support him no matter what. The Commerce Secretary apparently, warned the NOAA, the National Ocean and Atmospheric Administration, not to disagree with the president's version of weather reports leading up to the recent storm. So everybody realizes you could generously call it the quirks of this president, and I think the people around him are trying their best to sort of keep him on as much of an even keel as they possibly can, recognizing the risks that are out there in the world.
Let me ask you about whoever comes in to replace him. It's going to be the fourth national security advisor in this administration. We haven't even gone 4 years, which is pretty amazing. But you look at people like McMaster's, you look at Tillerson, you look at Mattis, Kelly, all these people come in with grand ambitions, their reputation's in tatters when they leave. Right. How do you get somebody to line up to come in and take this job, given you're kind of walking into a buzzsaw, aren't you?
Well, I think everybody realizes the shortcomings of this president and how he operates. And in fact, there was a report today that he's been calling General McMaster and soliciting his advice and saying he wishes he could be back, although he made fun of him when he was there. So I'm sure the president would say people are lining up to work in the administration. And normally, if you could put a year plus in working in the White House as national security advisor, that translates into lots of opportunities afterwards. But I think the fear that you hear expressed by particularly Democrats on the Hill, because Republicans are too scared to speak out, is that we might go from bad to worse, from a hawkish individual who got things right occasionally to someone who's going to completely agree with the president on everything he wants to do, another enabler.
Let me ask you this. If I'm in Venezuela, if I'm in Iran, if I'm in Russia, if I'm in China, if I'm viewing this from a distance, is this good news for them? Because obviously, this was a guy who was very hawkish towards a lot a countries.
Yeah, I think the confrontation with Iran, I mean, there have been some back and forth, and I think there really has been justifiable concern that he was pushing towards a military confrontation, and the Iranians have been responding now. So I think it's good news in general that he's gone, but the bad news that continues to exist in this administration is there is no legitimate policy process, and whoever comes in next is going to have to realize that the president gets the last word. I guess that's how it's supposed to be, but this president often changes his mind, sometimes within minutes. So whoever is next is going to be in for it.
Fasten your seatbelt,
Yeah,
so to speak.
that's
Eleanor,
right.
always a pleasure to have you on the
Thank
broadcast.
you.
Thanks so much.